For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me for Suttner's View, a weekly commentary on South Africa's political scene. Welcome, Professor.
Thanks a lot.
What do you think is the impact of the hashtag Gupta Leaks?
You know, there's so much information that we are getting at the moment from the Gupta Leaks, from these 8 gigabytes of leaked emails. That's very hard to keep track of what is involved in every one of these. I mean, I'm doing my best, I read them, and what one's getting is a generalized picture of people outside the state who are taking steps to influence government decisions on who is appointed to some boards, to some positions, and they do this in order to secure contracts that are beneficial to themselves, or to secure people who are in positions who will not stand in the way of them making huge profits, sometimes unlawfully. What we owe a debt to Daily Maverick's new investigative arm, Scorpio, to Alma Bungane, have been going for a long time, to News 24, who have joined together. Then on the other hand, Times Media Group, mainly through the Sunday Times and the Times, are all providing very damning leaks every week. They relate to the racism of the Guptas, they relate to how people send them their CVs, and sometimes these people end up being on boards or being appointed to this or getting government positions. It also shows that they've drafted letters for the Minister of Finance. The Minister, he didn't actually get to see that or sign that letter, but former Minister of Finance Nene said yesterday that amongst the Gupta leaks was an actual letter that he had written, and it landed in the inbox of one of the Gupta people, Sahara Computers. Now that's a government confidential letter. How does it land up there? So there is a lot of interference in the way governments are run. For example, when a board is appointed, there are cases where they have drafted speeches for the chair of the board. Ben Ngubane is one case. There are cases where, when Van Rooyen was about to be appointed, he spent about 7 days at Saxon World being coached on what he would do as Minister of Finance. They also told him who should be his advisors at the Ministry of Finance. They get involved in lucrative deals with regard to a number of state-owned entities. Now, state-owned entities, we must remember, are meant to be the engines for social transformation, for so-called radical economic transformation. And they can only be that if their funds are conserved and not used irregularly, and then the funds are dispersed in order to make a better life for all in South Africa. Now, what is happening is that their interference is resulting in contracts whereby suppliers are paid in advance for services that they haven't yet rendered. In this case, supply of coal. The coal is found to have been of inferior quality. There are further laboratory tests, still inferior quality. They're still paid. They still continue to be a supplier. And we have situations where the Guptas want to buy a mine, this Optimum, Tegeta company wants to buy the Optimum mine. There's a situation where Glencore are asking for some relief because they're having certain difficulties. Brian Molefe, who is very much a Gupta person, tightens the screws on them, and they still don't want to sell their mine to the Guptas. The new Minister of Mineral Affairs or Mineral Energy, Zwane, goes to Dubai and then to Switzerland, and he facilitates the sale of this mine to the Guptas. Now, it's got nothing to do with government, but he gets involved in that. So a lot of this is related to government playing a role which is favorable to a particular business entity or business entities that are controlled by the Guptas and Duduzane Zuma, the son of the president. And the result for us as citizens is that more of taxpayers' money is paid for these services. Secondly, the services are in some cases not rendered in a satisfactory manner. The coal was unusable. Now, you also have a situation where large amounts of money are spent buying copies of the New Age newspaper. Now, I don't know how many people actually read the New Age, how many people buy the New Age, but government is spending, say, 46 million by one government entity. Another government entity is paying money for adverts in the New Age, etc., etc. So that a newspaper that is not properly audited, like, you know, with the Star, Business Day, Sowetan, you actually know their sales are 30,000 or 300,000. The readership is estimated as this, that, and the other, and they have particular ways of estimating it. Now, the Guptas are not part of that. In the course of these things, some people have proved to be obstacles, like the ministers of finance, and they have been able, through their relationship with Zuma and the government, to marshal certain institutions of state to harass and try to prosecute the minister and other officials, as in the SARS so-called rogue unit, as with the attempted prosecution of Gordon and others, and equally the failure to prosecute in many cases where criminal offences appear to have been committed. For example, Faith Mutambi has leaked cabinet minutes to the Guptas. What steps are the Hawks taking? There are a whole lot of these things which have not been investigated. So in general, you've got a situation which is very different from ordinary corruption. You've got a situation where people, the Guptas and people associated with the Guptas, want to make a lot of money, but they don't make it purely by bribing someone or some such thing. They actually interfere with the human resources of government by ensuring that some people are appointed, but they also interfere in the awarding of the contract by influencing who is on boards and what decision boards take, which do not often, well, in many cases, do not conform to procurement regulations. And because the Treasury was a barrier to some of these transactions, they have interfered there and ensured that they got rid of Gordon, Nene, and so forth. Final thing I would like to mention is a lot of this took on a big scale in the period when Malusi Gigaba was Minister of Public Enterprises, when he changed a lot of the boards, the CEOs, all of these things. Also, that is when he became Minister of Home Affairs, he granted citizenship to the Guptas on the basis of naturalization, and they didn't conform to the requirements for naturalization. Now, the minister is entitled to override when the people don't conform, if there is a very good reason. We don't know what reason he had, but he also has to notify Parliament that he's taken this step. Now, he didn't notify Parliament. We don't know the reasons, and it could well be open to legal challenge. So those are some of the issues related. I think there's much more going to come out, because apparently what we know up to now is only a portion of it, and the way I'm analysing is based on insufficient study, like these people who did the academics report and the SACC. They've done much more work than I have done on it, and they're going to do more work.
So what can be done about this?
You know, the problem that we have is the people who are prepared to do something about it are themselves implicated in doing these things. The president is himself implicated. The public protector, we now find, makes a report, and the complainant, Paul Hoffman, is not sent a copy of the report. She sends a report to Andile Mqatama, who's actually got nothing to do. He's not a complainant, nothing. But he's part of this Black First, Land First group, and some of her recommendations are in line with the discourse of so-called radical economic transformation, where she wants to change the mandate of the bank and things like that. Now, this public protector initially may have been inept when she went into her office, and she got them to change the television station from ENCA to Gupta ANN7. But now, when you send your report to Mqatama, and not to the affected parties, not to ABSA, not to Reserve Bank, not to the complainant, so you have another case, not just the government, but also the public protector is now acting in a way that may be illegal and unconstitutional. You have the Hawks who have got in, there's a new Hawks acting head, but they've habitually operated to persecute the people who are stopping Zuma from his project, which is actually the Zuma project. So we have a problem with the present people in power ensuring that the rule of law will prevail, and these people will be brought to book. They may well, the way this may end up is that they may run away to Dubai. Zuma may run away to Dubai as well at some point. I don't know.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Crema Media's Polity about #GuptaLeaks and impunity.